In a city named Kanzai, a girl called Swindler leaves the Seal Center to buy stuff to make dinner. She suddenly sees that a cat is about to be run over by a car and hurriedly saves it. At a food stall, she notices that a customer standing beside her accidentally dropped a 500 yen coin and tries to return it, but the man mutters that dropped money is bad luck and rides away on his bike. Somebody played Jigga Chad music in the background. After taking her food, Swindler gets ready to pay, but realizes they only take cash. She asks the woman to wait while she goes to withdraw some money, but the old woman angrily calls the police on her. Meanwhile, Courier, a highly skilled Akudama with a 745-year sentence, is busy delivering illegal goods across the city. Elsewhere, Brawler, another Akudama, fights the police while Hacker, an online thief, hacks into a bank. They both receive a mission to rescue Cutthroat, a famous criminal with 999 murders to his name, who is set for execution, and Doctor, a mysterious Akudama, also receives the same mission with a reward of 100 million yen. At the station, the Akudama gather as it's time for Cutthroat's execution. The police mistakenly think Swindler is an Akudama as well, and a police tank arrives during the chaos. The tank targets Hoodlum, a minor Akudama who decides to join the group, and as the Akudama are fighting the police, Brawler battles Courier, and Doctor uses poison to overwhelm them, only to be thrown by Brawler into Hacker's remote hideout. Despite the confusion, the Akudama manage to work together to save Cutthroat, stopping his execution just in time. Later, Cutthroat kills the police chief, marking his 1,000th murder. The Akudama are shockingly fitted with explosive collars, and to demonstrate their danger, an officer is killed by one of the collars. As the Akudama are panicking, the stray cat suddenly appears on Swindler's head and sees that everyone's here. The cat confirms that it's a robot and the mastermind of this plan. It explains that up until they got collar bombs was phase 1 of the plan, and that they've been rewarded for rescuing Cutthroat, so they should check their balances. The Akudama see that they've been given 100 million, and the cat says this was just a test, and they pass with flying colors, which is why the money is proof that they've been hired. It warns them that no Akudama has ever finished phase 2 and reveals that their next objective is to attack the Shinkansen. Hacker mutters that it's the sole passage to Kanto, not to mention it's a sacred entity. Swindler hurriedly argues that they'll be cursed if they do that since everyone worships it. As the others are arguing, Courier asks how much they're going to get for phase 2, and the cat reveals that it'll be 1 billion like a rich gangster boss. Later, they manage to snag a bus, and while they're traveling, Cutthroat becomes obsessed with the color red, which causes him to attack everything in red around him. This reckless behavior activates the emergency throttle, causing the bus to accelerate uncontrollably until it crashes into a hotel. During the chaos, Hoodlum and Brawler form a bond with each other. However, they're suddenly interrupted when hotel security arrives, forcing the Akudama to eliminate them. Later, the cat explains the mission's objective to steal specific cargo being transported on the Shinkansen, and tells them about a detailed plan to infiltrate Kanzai Station, before adding that each person here plays a special role in them succeeding. As they prepare, 2 elite officers known as executioners arrive, and Brawler starts fighting the female officer. Cutthroat tries to step in, but is quickly overpowered and killed before he can do anything. The battle continues as Brawler faces off against the male executioner. Brawler slowly manages to overwhelm him, but Courier intervenes, causing a massive explosion that destroys the entire building. After the destruction, the group regroups in an abandoned factory to devise a new strategy for the mission ahead, as Courier annoyingly remarks that he can already tell this job will be trouble. The executioners are asked why they let the Akudama get away, so the man admits they don't have any excuse and assures his superior that they won't fail this time. His superior says they obviously can't do that since it's their duty to remove the dregs of society. She sees that they formed quite a group this time, since Akudama sometimes bend together, but it's rarely a group this strong. She asks what the Akudama are planning, so the male executioner reveals that they found some info at the hotel. The group finally reaches the station, splitting up to execute their parts in the mission. Swindler's team works above ground, while the others focus on tasks underground. When Swindler's team comes across a room with the necessary controls, they find the entrance blocked by a barricade. Meanwhile, underground, Brawler uses his strength to break through obstacles for the Doctor's team. At the same time, Cutthroat finds his own way past the barrier, allowing both groups to complete the first step of the operation at the same time. On a platform, Brawler activates an EMP and disables the station's barriers, seeing which Courier begins driving towards the platform. The group suddenly sees that the Shinkansen will depart in 60 seconds, and Swindler urges Hacker to hurry up. However, Hacker explains that someone less than his weight has to go through, since, even if he gets in the box, the shield will turn him into dust. Swindler proposes that she can do it and annoyingly says it's rude to ask a woman about her weight when Hacker questions her. She gets inside the container and manages to get through without being vaporized. After getting in, she quickly finds the lever required to open the doors and manages to get Courier just in time. Once they're all in, the cat mutters that the Shinkansen starting was unexpected, but that's one problem cleared, so the real challenge starts now. After the train leaves with everyone on board, Swindler worryingly argues that nothing's going as planned, but the cat says they're on the Shinkansen. If they take the vault, the mission's a success. Courier asks if its plan accounted for this, so the cat mutters that having a plan doesn't guarantee success. However, they only have 10 minutes left any longer and they'll plunge into the void of doom, the absolute quarantine zone. It says they should move to the vault, but suddenly see that the executioners are trying to break through the barrier. The cat quickly orders Brawler and Cutthroat to hold them off while the rest focus on taking the vault's cargo. Brawler charges in to fight the executioners and successfully takes one enemy before moving to the male executioner, as Courier decides to join the battle too, seeing it as the only way to take back his bike. Meanwhile, Hacker begins unlocking the next stage of the mission when the train suddenly accelerates. The cat warns that they have only 5 minutes to access the vault, which excites Hacker. During the battle, Courier fires at the executioner, but the shot narrowly misses and strikes Brawler instead. Brawler shockingly catches the bullet with his teeth and spits it back with such force that it injures the executioner. Infuriated, the male executioner starts overwhelming Brawler and lands a strong blow on him. Cutthroat steps in, but Brawler quickly starts fighting back. As Hacker leads the non-combat team forward, they are surprised to find passenger seats on the Shinkansen. Cutthroat starts to overwhelm the male executioner, annoying Brawler. As the train enters the quarantine zone, the cat warns them that everyone will die upon reaching the decomposition zone. Hacker successfully unlocks a door, but it leads to the security room instead of the vault. He disables the defense systems just as Courier uses his bike to evade the executioners and they reach the vault's final door. However, a special key is required to unlock it, so the cat suddenly reveals that it is the final key and disappears to reveal the key like some sort of special entity. Surprised, Swindler quickly opens the vault, but instead of cargo, they shockingly find 2 children inside. With the mission confirmed to be a success, Brawler announces that he's going to return to Kansai to fight the male executioner again. The doctor asks if he cannot let her first aid go to waste and reminds him that he still hasn't received his billing. However, he says money means nothing to him, so they can keep it, admitting that nobody has scared him like that, so he'll beat him, even if it kills him. However, one of the children informs the group that the mission isn't over since they must safely transport them both to a certain location. The boy says their destination is in Kansai, so they may as well leave together since they're returning to Kansai too. As they prepare to leave, Hacker decides to stay behind on the train, explaining that he intends to travel to Kanto, the train's final destination. Swindler asks if he's gone crazy and if he doesn't remember what the cat said, reminding him that if he keeps going, he'll die in the decontamination zone. However, he says he's sick and tired of living in this boring world and is going to take this chance even if it costs him his life. At police headquarters, the superiors inform the executioner leader that the Akudama are still alive and have stolen cargo from the Shinkansen. Meanwhile, the children reveal the coordinates for their next destination, Expo Park. When Brawler mutters that he's hungry, one of the children offers a special flask capable of transforming water atoms into any type of food requested, so the group excitedly uses the flask to create their favorite meals. Back at the police facility, the executioner boss tells off the 2 officers for their failure and suspends them. She then orders a citywide search for the high-ranking Akudama, alerting all available executioners to join the hunt. As the Akudama make their way back to Kansai, they discover that the male executioner is already waiting for them. The executioner says letting them run amok any longer will tarnish his name, so this is a good spot for their graves. He declares that he's going to execute them all, but Brawler immediately charges in and starts fighting him, while Courier quickly tries to escape with the children on his bike. However, the executioner spots him getting away and attacks them by destroying the drone, causing them to collapse. Swindler hurriedly rushes towards them as the executioner slashes through the doctor's body. As Courier and Cutthroat fight the executioner, they hurriedly tell Swindler to take the children and run. Hoodlum checks on Brawler and says they should scram and recover since the executioner is busy dealing with the others. However, Brawler refuses, declaring that he isn't going to pass up on such an awesome fight. As Swindler is running away with the children, the man throws Cutthroat in front of her and says this is the end of the line for them. After he kills them, he's going to take the goods to safety. However, as he's about to tail them, Cutthroat steps in to protect Swindler and uses the boy as a shield to stab the executioner through the stomach. However, in doing so, he inadvertently injures one of the children, infuriating Swindler. While she despairs over the boy's injury, the man stabs through Cutthroat before Courier arrives on his bike. Swindler desperately asks what she should do and begs for help, but the sister assures her that it's fine and reveals that they both can regenerate and heal themselves. The doctor arrives, saying she had to stitch herself back together and believes they can handle the executioner. As the executioner wearily fights the other Akudama, the doctor explains that she can tell the executioner is moving sluggishly now, compared to the Shinkansen. Since he's definitely injured, they're slowly weakening the final boss. As Brawler faces off against the executioner alone, he punches him in the face and asks if he isn't enjoying himself, so the man takes off his mask and smilingly admits this isn't too bad. The two start wildly fighting each to the death, and in the end, both Brawler and the executioner land fatal blows on each other and collapse. Meanwhile, the rest of the group reaches their destination, where the child activates a lever that reveals a hidden underground entrance. Before the group enters, Hoodlum arrives and reveals that he's defeated the female executioner but confirms that Brawler has died. As they go down the entrance, they discover that the park is actually an underground city. Upon reaching a tower, the boy reveals that it's actually a rocket designed for space travel and that their plan is to use it to escape to the moon beyond the government's reach. The boy then tells them about their past and how he and thousands of other children were subjected to experiments at the Kyushu plant. The experiments succeeded, but he learned the horrifying truth. His immortality came at the cost of sacrificing the other children. Eventually, the facility created another immortal child, and the two began referring to each other as siblings. After finishing his story, the boy releases the bomb collars, freeing the Akudama, and they get ready to go off on their different ways. As they climb toward the rocket platform, the girl is ambushed by the doctor, who violently knocks the boy aside, infuriating Swindler. Swindler tries to intervene but is attacked herself, only to be saved by Cutthroat. It is then revealed that the doctor is working with the executioner's commander. The boy desperately tries to get away, but the commander coldly informs him that their plan to escape to the moon is useless since the moon was destroyed during the war long ago and what they see is merely an illusion. Bro really crushed their dreams, huh? The commander orders the execution of the group, but Courier hurriedly uses his bike to create a diversion. Despite being targeted, Swindler is protected by Cutthroat, who fiercely fights multiple executioners to shield her, and during the chaos, the boy sees a chance to escape. Determined to save his sister and Swindler, he rushes to help them board the space rocket, and they manage to get away. As the rocket travels toward the moon, an alert signals that it has run out of fuel and is descending back to Earth. Just before impact, Swindler activates the emergency escape function, saving them from a fatal crash. At the crash site, Swindler manages to pull the child from the rubble, and his injuries heal almost instantly. Exhausted, they walk for a while before Swindler takes a brief rest. Upon reaching a nearby area, Swindler tries to purchase food but discovers her seal now displays her wanted poster. This causes panic and everyone around her flees in fear. Meanwhile, Hoodlum runs into Doctor in a pub, but she exposes him as an Akudama. As Hoodlum is attacked, he reveals he knows the location of the children, and the doctor saves him when she learns that the children are immortal. Swindler and the child find refuge in an abandoned building filled with canned food and eat to regain strength. That night, Swindler cuts her hair. However, the building's owners, a group of low-level Akudama involved in human trafficking, return. When they begin beating up the child, Swindler hurriedly tries to defend her but finds herself cornered by the group's leader, who holds her at gunpoint. She desperately begs him to spare the child and offers herself instead. When the man approaches, she stabs him in the neck. The men start shooting at them, and Swindler, picking up a gun, manages to hit one of her attackers. Just as the last enemy sneaks up on them, Courier arrives in time to save them. As he prepares to leave, Swindler reminds him that he'll be given 1 billion yen and says she has to see this through to the end since she has nowhere to run, and this is all she has left. Courier slowly stops and agrees, telling them both to hurry up. Courier takes Swindler and the child to his safe house, where while they're eating, he asks what their plans going forward. The girl says they're going to look for her brother. Swindler suggests that they could check the seal center since all of Kanzai's info goes through it. However, Courier says her seal is useless now since she's an S-rank Akudama now. She admits that's true, but says that's the only way to find out the brother's location, so they have no other choice. Courier tells Swindler she knows it's going to be impossible, and she realizes the executioner should know what his location is. Meanwhile, in the city, Doctor and Hoodlum watch the chaos breaking out as citizens riot, killing any Akudama they encounter. It is revealed that Swindler sent out various messages which caused the scene which the police and the executioners work together to calm the people down. As Courier's group heads to the roof to rescue the other child, they come across a pile of corpses that Cutthroat is standing atop. Unlike before, Cutthroat immediately attacks Swindler, and during their struggle, he hesitates, revealing that he has always seen a halo of blood over her head and has been waiting for it to grow before killing her. My guy really turning into a poultry farmer. Swindler hurriedly escapes from the deranged Cutthroat, who chases after her, guided by an invisible blood trails. She tries to evade him, running into a bathroom to hide. However, Cutthroat tracks her down and corners her. Swindler arms herself with a weapon, attempting to defend herself, but he overpowers her. Just as he is about to kill her, she reveals a concealed weapon and stabs him through the heart. When Swindler and the group finally reach the rooftop, they see that the executioners have already taken the child and are flying away. Courier and the group chase after the ship carrying the brother. Meanwhile, in the ship, the executioners are informed about how the citizens have started an uprising to take their safety into their own hands. The brother mutters that in his opinion, the executioners are the Akudama. However, the girl says they pride themselves on crushing the crimes and the heads of the evil Akudama, and regardless of the situation, she'll execute them one after another. Courier and his group are forced to stop at the checkpoint where the citizens threaten to kill them. However, the robotic police start firing at the checkpoint, after which Courier and the others manage to reach the station along with the executioners. However, the child is locked away in the vault before they can intervene. Swindler chases after the vault but is confronted by Doctor, who tries to stop her. Doctor focuses on the executioners' necks, implanting needles into the hearts of the subordinates to control them. Despite her manipulation, the female executioner hesitates to harm Doctor, as doing so would make her an Akudama. The Doctor mockingly believes she has everything under control. However, Swindler suddenly reminds Hoodlum of Brawler, the man he admired. Inspired by her words, Hoodlum starts to reconsider his actions. Sensing the shift, Doctor quickly incapacitates Hoodlum. During the chaos, Hoodlum takes the chance and stabs Doctor. Though gravely wounded, Doctor manages to kill Hoodlum before dying. However, people suddenly rush into the station, desperate to board the Shinkansen and trample over her before she's able to heal herself. Swindler and the girl aren't able to enter the Shinkansen in time, so Courier quickly appears on his bike, and they manage to enter the Shinkansen, which swiftly departs. While on the train, Hacker's drone suddenly activates, revealing a message from Hacker himself. He explains that he saved them from the decontamination zone. The group steps outside and sees surreal buildings floating around the Shinkansen. Hacker guides them to a massive black structure, which he identifies as Kanto. He reveals that the people of Kanto had transferred their consciousness into data form, and this structure is a quantum supercomputer housing their collective minds. When they ask about the children, Hacker directs them to where their bodies are being absorbed by Kanto. He explains that Kanto, facing degradation, created the immortal children to serve as new vessels for their consciousness. Swindler, horrified, tries to stop the process but is repeatedly thrown back by a force field. Seeing her determination, Hacker decides to intervene from within the system, as his consciousness is already part of Kanto. Entering the system, he begins hacking it, but the process takes a toll as the firewall starts taking over his mind. Despite the danger, Hacker is excited by the challenge, even if it leads to his death. He says this is all thanks for returning his drone as promised, and it will be perfect to stave the boredom, and suddenly disappears. He says the only way to save the children is through Kanto, and in his final moments, the children lend him their strength, allowing him to break them free. The children suddenly return and Swindler happily hugs them. As Hacker is disappearing, he tells them to get on the Shinkansen so that he can send it back to Kansai. However, as they arrive back in Kansai, the train is suddenly destroyed in a massive explosion caused by the executioners. Talk about throwing a wrench into the good guys' plan. In the wreckage of the Shinkansen, the children try to help Swindler, who has injured her leg. While they hide, the boy despairingly realizes won't survive against the executioners. Swindler tries to reassure him, but he believes their chances are slim. She then offers Courier the 500 yen coin, asking him to take the children to Shikoku, a secret location provided by Hacker. After saying goodbye to them, Swindler reveals herself to the executioners to buy them some time. They don't recognize her at first, so she pretends to be just another survivor of the explosion. However, they soon realize she is Swindler and swiftly execute her, unaware that her death is being broadcast live. What? Meanwhile, Courier faces the entire executioner squad, and although he fights back fiercely, their overwhelming numbers cause him to take heavy damage. Despite the child's efforts to protect him, he is still injured. Just then, another child appears and kills an executioner. A new uprising begins, with the public now directing their anger toward the executioners. Before her death, Swindler's story of being an innocent bystander convinces the masses, who now hold the executioners accountable for her murder. In the chaos, Courier uses the confusion to slip away. However, As they travel, he suddenly stops and pushes the children off his bike, revealing that he is near death. He gives them the 500 yen coin and tells them how to reach their destination before turning back to face the planes chasing after them. He desperately fights and tries to destroy the planes. However, his bike finally reaches its limits and is destroyed before he can destroy the final plane. It goes after the children instead, but K1ller wearily shoots it and manages to take it down as the power suddenly goes out. As the children desperately run away, K1ller slowly drops his gun and smilingly passes away. Later, the brother and sister finally reach their destination and smilingly walk forward together.